like, I've never had this feeling, right? And I stepped out onto that balcony, the wind's blowing off the ocean, it's like all supposed to be relaxing. No, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, there's no sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Just overwhelming fear. And you don't know what to do with it if you've never experienced it. You can allow yourself to panic and it can tear somebody up, But that quote, just take the next step.
That's huge.
That's all you do. Just take the next step. We're going to get there.
Every single individual has a story to tell, and they're great stories that need to be heard.
I want every listener to know they have the ability to change the world.
Welcome to the 1720 Podcast.
What's up, Mountain Movers? Welcome back to the 1720 Podcast. We're honored to have Justin Parscale with us today. Somebody that just blew up on the scene for me. 3 of our closest friends and former guests on the podcast, like, you got to go meet Justin. You got to go meet Justin. We broke bread, had lunch, and now we're sitting here in the podcast studio. So welcome, man.
Thank you. It's kind of crazy.
What? How's it crazy?
It's because like you said, we just met. And then I'm like, and then actually one of my partners, Matt Prigmore, had mentioned something about this podcast. And he's like, you should be on this podcast. I was like, I don't need to be on a podcast. And I started listening to it. I was like, that'd be cool to be on that podcast. And like literally like the next week, I was like, ooh, Prigmore, check it out. I got some email invite.
You got the invite.
Yeah.
All right, so if you've listened to a couple, which I know you have, you know how we start. What's your elevator pitch, man?
It's
Who's
the
Justin?
elevator pitch. And so I obviously have my cheat sheet. But
By the way, before you give us the elevator pitch, shout out to Kyle Kelly, because he was previously the most prepared.
Taylor Hale,
also super prepared. There's a stack of
just 4 sheets.
whatever. 4 sheets, tightly typed, single spaced. Very prepared. Very prepared. So I'll toss you that softball. Who is Justin?
Well, not typically overly prepared. So that's probably going to cause me to flunk because I overly prepared. But I mean, I tell everybody I'm like just a dude from East Side, Enid, Oklahoma, right? I got an amazing wife. I got 2 grown kids. That's usually what freaks everybody out. I have 2 adult children.
Like adult, like 36-year-old adult?
Like,
here we go.
They're almost as mature as Kevin, right? Yeah.
They got a long way to go.
We talking age or maturity?
My
that's
daughter will legit
metric.
be 30 this week, which is crazy,
Yeah.
and she's pregnant. I'm going to be a grandpa. So
Hey.
now I'm going to be
Grandpa Jay?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with grandpa. Everybody wants to trick that up, but yeah, just a dude. East Side, Enid, Oklahoma. I love to throw in the East Side things. A lot of us don't from that neighborhood probably haven't become professionals. People on the radio can't hear the quotes.
I saw your air quotes.
Yeah, but proud dad, and I happen to be an architect.
So East Side means something.
It does.
Tell us, air quotes, it means something. Tell us what's up on the East Side of Enid.
So there's not a lot up on the East Side of Enid. I don't, it's not a bad neighborhood, but I think I learned as an adult that East Side Enid, we didn't have a whole lot, right? I didn't realize we didn't have a whole lot. It was a good Sesame Street neighborhood. When I say Sesame Street, it's a mix of everybody. It was diverse. We were poor. Some people had 2 parents, some people had 1. I was one of the 1. Still in touch with my dad, but he wasn't really ever there. Me, my mom, my brother, and that's how it was for many of the kids in the neighborhood. A couple had 2 parents, but our neighborhood was wake up, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, Nintendo, and then ghost in the graveyard at midnight and get home. Kevin probably doesn't know what ghost in the graveyard is, but that was a legit game.
Yeah. You know this?
Yeah, we played that in our cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Yeah.
These kids still play it. My kids play
Do
it.
they? Yeah. But that was us growing up, and we didn't have much, but we didn't know what we didn't have. We knew what each other had, and that was probably enough. But East Side I love referencing East Side. Anytime I put anything on Facebook, I don't really live on the Facebook very much, but when I do, it's kind of like, look, y'all, one of us is doing okay.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're geographically challenged, Enid's where?
Straight north of Oklahoma City. Call it hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Most of our listeners are in the Metroplex area. They know where this is, but we got a few.
Yeah.
Like, where
a
the
lot
heck
of
is
people
Enid?
know Enid for some creepy reason. I was on an airplane once, and this is like 15 years ago on a little Southwest flight, maybe headed to West Texas, and there's this young couple sitting there doing a crossword puzzle, and I overheard them. Maybe I was creeping between the crack in the seats, and they're like, "A town in Oklahoma starts with E, 4 letters," and I said, "Enid." They're like, "That's it." So, yeah, that's
and
Enid.
also stop listening to us.
Yeah,
Creeper in the back.
This dude back there. But like, I always called it like a kind of a green stamp town. Green stamps, you go to the grocery store and you spend $50, you get 5 stamps, and then I don't know if you remember the old school. I think it was Wheel of Fortune. You look up there on the wall. I want the raft. There's no water in your neighborhood, but you want the raft because it's the expensive thing. But I think you could buy things with these book of green stamps. That's how I describe it.
You get them like at Market Basket or something, right?
We would get them at Safeway.
Yeah. Maybe that's the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
My grandma lived in a green stamp town. Call, Texas. Anybody heard of Call, Texas?
Sounds cool.
It's close to Kirbyville, which is close to Jasper, and I just told you everything you need to know about Call, Texas.
You used Kirbyville and Jasper something to tell us where that place was. We have to Google all 3.
Yeah. If you're roughly my age and grew up in Southeast Texas, Jasper is infamous for a horrible racial incident back in the 90s.
Oh.
And so when you say Jasper, it was like, ooh.
Oof.
Yeah. But my grandma grew up in a green stamp town. I get that.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And then we were on the east side of town. So I went to Longfellow Junior High. There were 3 junior highs and 1 high school. And so you had Longfellow. They called us Long Smellow. And then there was Emerson. Did you guys not have those? There was Emerson, which they called Emerscum. And then the rich kids over there at Waller, and they called Squalor. Right?
The rival towns.
Yeah. They were just 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So we were over here, and the rich kids were over there. And that's kind of how that worked out.
What's the come up at? I mean, what high schools? What's that look like for you?
Enid High School. So y'all know me. I mean, like, we just actually met, and you're like, this dude is a jackhole, right? So like, I'm a jackhole,
yeah, I mean,
right?
I'm looking at. I've known you for 24 minutes.
Yeah,
like that sort of bit. Yeah.
Right. So, but this is me 100% of the time. This was me in grade school. This was me in junior high. Probably worse in junior high. And then, I tell everybody, it's like something happened in high school. And after going through, probably my biggest realization was in 19. I went through the Dallas Regional Chambers, Leadership Dallas, right? Watching and listening and learning about how the world works and economies work and neighborhoods and cities work or don't work. I was like, Enid was a little tiny microclimate of maybe even Dallas or any other city. We were on that side of town, and then there was kids on this side of town. And then whenever we went to high school, it all blended. So get to high school, and I realized that's when I think, now looking back, I realized what I didn't have. Right? So you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't have until you see somebody else have it. Then you have to decide if you want it, right? But I kind of got shy in high school. That's a weird thing to say, and sometimes I doubt, well, that's not true. Maybe I just wasn't popular. That can't be the case. No way. Yeah. But it could be a little of both. But I had the glasses, and I know that growing up, my mom cut my hair. I'm going to go get a new haircut today.
It looks dope. You don't.
It's going to keep it long.
Okay.
We're doing this own a business hair right now.
Okay.
I got some hair envy over here.
Yeah. But so my mom used to cut our hair, and cut it out on the back porch, and then one day I was like, Mom, it's high school. I was like, I need to go get my hair cut. Well, I went to beauty college, $5 where they're learning to cut hair. Mm-hmm. So it probably was better off having my mom cut it actually. But we shopped at Goodwill sometimes, and we got to go to Dillard's every now and then. But I know Mom did everything she could to make sure we were not keeping up with the Joneses, but had the things that we needed to have. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people who had it much worse than we had it, today, then, and tomorrow. But we had less, and I didn't know we had less. So you get to high school and you start trying to keep up with the Joneses, which is a bad move. Mm-hmm. So I did not have fun in high school. I still did we did all the things. We did all the things. But I think it was a setback for me a little bit, or maybe it was a good setback.
Well, a lot of schools have this instance where the haves and the have-nots hit each other, either in junior high sometimes or in high school sometimes, What's your advice, like looking back as you're raising kids that are going to hit the haves and the have-nots, and you're going to have that melting pot at a very vulnerable age? Based on your experience, you would say kids need to know this, or parents should be teaching kids this about that experience.
I don't know that anybody wants really my advice, but if they met my kids, you'd say, I want your advice, because they, both of them are rock stars. What does you do? You pivot?
Yeah,
right?
You can
I'm
pivot.
gonna pivot for a little bit, and I'll come back to it. Remind me to come back to that. So my daughter, happy birthday this week on the 27th. And then she is like this super caring, giving mom of a person. Now, if y'all got daughters, she wasn't always that, right? Like, this just happened in the last 4 years. Prior to that, she was every mean female. Love all females. I can't be sued. She was every mean person and sweet person that they mixed into one thing, but she's turned into this most amazing little human that's like guiding us through our days now. And I'm going to be a grandpa. But she went to Berkner High School, and we were on the East Side of Richardson. I got to stay with East Side. Yeah. Now I'm in East Dallas. Check that out.
East Side all day.
Yeah, forever. But she was at the tougher of the schools, and I think you have to be real with your kids. We didn't sugarcoat anything. We didn't hide anything. When they couldn't have something, we say, this is why you can't have it. Well, so-and-so has it. Well, whatever. Get a job, right? And then my son, he's 24, Dallas Fire Rescue, station number 19/44. Firefighters out there will understand 19 got blown away in a tornado some years ago. So he's in 19, stationed at 44.
Gotcha.
But both those kids, if you look at my daughter being a third grade teacher and my son being a firefighter, they both went to college. She went to Arkansas. He went to Oklahoma State. Go Pokes. But what I didn't do is teach them how to make money and they didn't see us have money, right? But they are both genuine, caring, real, matter-of-fact people. Like, you can poke at my daughter, you can poke at my son, and they're like bulletproof because we toughened them mentally. We weren't mean to them. But I think the thing you do is just be real, and you don't have to lie or sugarcoat. Definitely don't be soft. I'm glad I don't have to raise a kid these days, though. So
it's different.
Yeah. Now I forgot after the pivot what was the actual question.
That was it. You answered it. Advice for kids.
Oh, yeah.
You masterfully came back. I wasn't going to have to do anything there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think
I forgot.
Before getting to high school, it's ignorance is bliss, right? So knowing that when our kid's about to go to high school, like some preparation, like, hey, this is what this most likely is going to look like, and this is what I expect of you as a human being.
Yeah, but you're not going to get it. You gotta let them just roll. They got to roll with it, and they're going to come home. They're going to be upset. They're going to be mad. They're going to go do things. Like, I've learned of the things that my daughter did, and my wife kept secret from me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't have a sister or anything growing up, right? It was me, my mom, my brother. And so a lot of people have sisters. And I did not know the drama world that girls go through. So every day I'd come home, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then with my son, 6 years younger than my daughter, I was like, don't, oh my God, you did it. Don't, oh my gosh, you did it. That's dumb, Evan. You can't do that. Evan, don't do that. You did it? Oh God. Here's like, I get it, but don't do it again. Everything my daughter did, I didn't understand. So, but they're going to go through everything you did, and probably some different kind of perceived level of worse. They'll be all right. They'll be fine, even if it takes them a few extra years.
There's a perceived level of worse, and as much as like I don't understand a lot of stuff that goes on, especially I'm not like technology stupid, but the phone and managing the phone and all that, raising a kid, like Millie's about to go to high school. It's one of the reasons I asked the question.
Yeah, my daughter got her phone, and I want to say it was 6th grade. And that was only because a couple other kids got it, and she worked her way into it. Mm-hmm. And my son, I think he got his in maybe 5th grade.
That's tough.
And they're getting them really young now.
Oh, yeah.
That's something Fisher, here's our Fisher quota of mentioning him, but that he's teaching me because he has a daughter several years older than mine. Is like, phone's on lockdown. He has complete control over exactly what apps get on it. And that's a training lesson for me for once Quinn gets older.
Yeah.
Like, have that discipline and restrict some things because it's a wacky world.
That stresses me out. Just imagine trying to take a phone from her back then. No
The
way.
drama.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The best thing we ever did. This is the coolest one. So she was, let's call her 14 maybe. And, all a girl wants is to go in, close her door, and sit on her bed, on her phone, and be in her own little world. And you just let them do that, really. And even, they're just in there beating themselves up unnecessarily. But she did something, and I'm like, that's what it was. She slammed her bedroom door. So when they slam their door, stay calm. Grab the hammer, grab the little Phillips screwdriver, the smallest, and go in, walk in the room, take that door down, walk out of the room with the door. They're like, what? Yeah. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, you'll get this back when we get back straight. And that was the game changer. Yeah. It didn't change things. It just lasted for a day or two. But that was a good one. That was a really good one.
It's a proud moment.
Use that one. That's one. That is a one you can win. Yeah. You really can't win anything else.
I own this door.
My door.
We got some pretty bad door slams in our house, and as much as you probably can answer this why it happens better than I can, but there's some doors that just slam.
Yeah.
And there's airflow or something.
Yeah, her door.
So Hayes slams his door all the time. I'm like, stop. And he's like, I didn't slam it. I'm like, dog, sounded like you slammed it. And go in there and to talk to him about it, right?
I'm telling you, go take the door. It feels good. It feels really good.
We've talked about it. We have talked about it at our house. Pop the hinges.
Yeah.
Or pop the pins, I mean.
So where is it in high school, or where does this light bulb go off with architecture? Like East Side Enid, how does this get on your radar?
You probably knew a lot of architects.
So, if I guess depending on where you grow up, you're exposed to stuff. So I'm really big on the whole exposure and awareness, right? And growing up on our side of town, we were exposed to what our parents did, who they worked for, and if we wanted things, whether it be a bike or some cool D Brown pump up.
Yes,
shoes.
Reeboks.
Remember the D Brown? I
Yes.
saved money for those bad boys.
They probably cost you $85 too.
Probably. And where it is probably 14-year-old or less get money, mowing yards, right? But on the east side of Enid, I mean, I mowed our yard. I mowed the front. My brother mowed the back, or vice versa. I think it was actually flipped. But you can go around with your mom's mower and say, hey, can I mow your yard? And slam a door there. It's like, no, I'm not paying you to mow my yard. I only mow my own yard, right? And then, so what do? You and your mom load the mower up in the back of the 1974 Ford Elite. Huh?
Ford Elite?
Yeah,
I don't even know what that
354
is.
Windsor. Bad boy. It was a two-door beast. But we would load that mower up in the back, and we'd drive to the other side of town. Now, this is a hindsight. One of those things like, that's how that happened. Well, we would go, and what it turns out it was her friends that she worked with, yard that she negotiated for me to go over and make $10, mow their yard. It was probably not a good job. They probably mowed it after we left. But I remember, I can remember one particular house. My mom would sit there on the front porch with this other lady, and they were old at the time, but they were probably 30, right, 35. Mm-hmm. They're almost your age, Kevin, and they're wise.
This will be a theme throughout the episode, people. Yeah.
But they'd sit out there, maybe have a Coors Light, and I'd mow the front yard and backyard, get $10, $15, and then we'd drive back. So that's where I generally got my money to buy stuff. Well, one, two, three, or four times, one of her friends' husband is an architect, Roy Easley in Enid, Oklahoma, right? I think his son's running the company now. Also an Oklahoma State guy. He had me pull the weeds outside their building, their office building, in their garden, and vacuum the floors inside. And I don't remember how many times I did it, maybe a couple. But I remember, and it's weird. It's like, sometimes you have these memories. You're not sure if you fabricate them.
Yes, I had this conversation with a high school buddy of mine, Jason, this weekend. He was telling me a story. He's like, I don't know if I know that story or if we made that up. Or
Yeah, I feel like what I'm about to tell you is real. I also worry, have I fabricated this over time to make it dramatic? But I swear that I can recall looking through the window. It makes sense too. If I'm outside pulling weeds,
yeah.
And if I recall right, they had one of those half floor buildings. I'm an architect. I should know that term. It's where the dirt's higher on the outside than it is on the inside.
Your Enid's hanging out.
Yeah, that was pure Enid. But it was one of those things. I swear I remember looking through the window and I can see all the old school drafting tables, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to be an architect, right? I'm in sixth grade at this point, so I know it's sixth grade. And I told my mom I want to be an architect, and I swear it was probably that weekend. We went to the library and checked out a book. It was Sky Rises, and I know I sat there. I like to draw a lot at that time. That doesn't, because you can draw doesn't mean you should be an architect, but I like to draw. And I knew I drew the Transamerica building. Now it was crooked. I wish I still had that drawing. That'd be pretty cool, right? To have the original thing when it says, "Hey, I'm going to go do this." But I remember drawing in this sketchbook, and it was a crooked Transamerica building, but it was a Transamerica building in San Francisco. And it kind of started then. And then, you're playing with your friends, and one says, "I'm going to be a contractor. I'm going to be whatever." They always knew. I said I was going to be an architect. I don't really know what it meant more than that. And then back to exposure and awareness. It's pretty much the only profession I was exposed to and paid attention to, and it stuck. So I would say it started there, and then skipped the junior high fun days. I don't remember thinking about being an adult in junior high. Man, junior high was fun. It was so fun. Oh my gosh, it was such good trouble. And then you get to high school where this melting pot of fakeness and competition for popularity, and if I skip back to that high school conversation we were having earlier, I had my government provided glasses, and this is another one of those realization things you realize later in life. You're like, oh, that's what that was. So I remember we'd go, I don't know, once or twice a year to go get your eyes checked. And when I got to pick from my glasses, like I'm sitting here at this table, right? And eye doctor's right there where y'all are. And there was a rack right here, a little spinny wheel. Mm-hmm. And what are those called?
Display rack?
No, the little Lazy Susan. Yeah, the little Lazy Susan display rack. Yeah. You don't know what Lazy Susan is?
Well, I don't know if a Lazy Susan extends to like an elevated structure. I think of it more as just like a spinning plate.
Well, it's a spinning plate that holds the elevated structure.
Tomato, potato. You know what I'm saying?
and like, well, they got a room, walls of glasses. And mm-hmm. I got to pick from the spinny plate.
Yeah.
Right?
They call that a Lazy Susan.
That's what I swear they had a name like that, Lazy Susan. So it was actually not Lazy Susan. It was Poor Kid Susan. Yeah, right. And so, it's funny, like back, they were the ones that the spring-loaded earpieces. And it's like, well, why? Well, because, you poor kids don't take care of stuff. Yours are likely to break, and you get 8 options. That's maybe true and not true, but hindsight, that's my truth, right? Yeah. And so that was my high school. I got to pick my glasses from there. I got to pick my clothes from where. I remember my buddy Ron, we were friends since we were 3. We're still friends today. I remember Ronnie at the time, right? Because we all grow up. But Ronnie, his parents would take him at the beginning of every school year, and I swear I remember $300. I recall them getting $300 worth of clothes to start the year, and I was mind blown. Like, what? You got all these clothes? But that was my high school. It was like when I realized, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but that was the realization. So back to architecture, they had a drafting program through the VOTEC. VOTEC paired with high school. You go there your junior or senior year. It replaces like a science, an English, a math. I'm like, beautiful. I don't have to take all those extra classes. And I go do VOTEC and I do drafting. So 11th grade, and the high school and the VOTEC were not connected. They're a couple, 3 miles away. You need to drive. So at lunch, I would drive, go pick up some lunch, and or the baggy sandwich, eat it in the car outside the VOTEC, and then go in. But on day one, I walk in, I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this because math. I mean, few people are good at math, or maybe everybody's good at math if they do it correctly at the beginning. I walked into that building, walked into the hall, and standing in the doorway with his, old school gray mustache and glasses was Mr. Dwayne Jansen. And man, just huge smile, grin, caring, compassionate. He's, probably like your preacher kind of guy. Like just great dude. And he's greeting every one of these jackhole kids that are coming in. And I get to that doorway and I said, I can't do this. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not going to be able to do the math. I was like, I got to go change. And he goes, puts his hand on my shoulder. And we were talking about earlier whether you fabricate. I 100% remember this like to a T. Put his hand on there. He goes, I think you can. Why don't you give it a shot? Come inside. So I go inside and it's not hard. It's just drafting. There was like no math. I'm like, but it counted as a math. And in terms of our high school grades, and there was maybe 20 of us in there. We each had big old drafting tables. And AutoCAD came out then. I think it was AutoCAD like version 4. And over the 2 years, each semester he would have like a student of the year kind of award that was just up on a poster board up by the door. It was like up there, and he had 2 poster boards. He'd been teaching forever. And I ended up getting it the last 3 semesters there. There was a little competitive spirit. I was like, I want on that board, right? And I got like his student this semester the last 3 semesters. And then it was cool. And then, went on to college. And
timestamp is here, 92?
89.
Okay.
Yeah. A&M, right?
Wow. I don't have a buzz cut. My phone's not clipped to my pants. That's an Aggie.
Oh gosh!
Oh, you hit that out of the park. I love that.
So rich there. I'm not advocating for or against Aggie stereotypes. Yeah. However, my phone's not clipped to my pants is real funny.
So I went. Actually, I didn't go straight to Oklahoma State. So I got to go to college, right? And if you want to be an architect, you got to go to college. And so I really didn't know the path. We didn't know to research colleges. We didn't know to apply to 50 colleges. I didn't go visit a college. But one of my cousins, he's 6 years older, he went to a junior college his first year in OC in Tonkwall, and then in Oklahoma, and then he transferred from there to Oklahoma State. Well, he's like, Oklahoma State has an architecture program. I was like, okay, right, I'll go. Now I went in sounded like okay. I came out sounded like really smart. So I about messed it up right there. But so I went to junior college my first year. My grades were horrible in high school, well, and college, but they were horrible in high school. And there's no way I was going to go from high school to Oklahoma State and get out. Just couldn't have got in. But you can go to a junior college first.
For sure.
And so I went there, met some friends that were still friends to this day, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. College is so different than high school, right? When you get to college, financial status, all that stuff gets thrown out the window. Haves, nots. It's like, how well do you party? How fun can you be? And let's just go, right? And when I was back home when I got to college, right? Mm. And at this junior college, it was a bunch of country dudes, and so there was lesser expectations, I would think. But we had a blast that year, and then that second semester, I was like, well, now I got to go to Oklahoma State to go do the architecture thing. So I hop in my car. I had a sweet ride. I'll show you when this is over. I'll show you the sweet ride. But I hop in my car. I drive from Tonkwall to Stillwater.
Well, give us a description. What
1986 Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yes.
That
came in a 2 and a 4-door option, didn't it?
This was the big 2-door.
Yeah.
And I bought this bad boy for like $2,300. This is money I earned working at Skaggs, Alpha Beta, and everything else. It was all 100%. Well, I say 100%. Mom did allow me to sell that Ford Elite and get that cash and then contribute it to me buying this car. It was a 2-tone brown when I got it. Like tan and beige and brown, right? And I have a photo somewhere of me sitting out in the driveway, hand sanding this thing.
Oh,
hand sanded, wet sanded, just a little mini hand sander. I got shocked a couple times too. You don't use the hand sander sitting on the ground in the water while you're.
Yeah, I could see that's bad.
It legit happened. We hand sanded that thing, and then my uncle, big car enthusiast. We rented a spray booth, which who knew you could do that, but you can. Rented a spray booth. I went and bought some candy apple metallic red paint, and we sprayed that thing one Saturday, or he did, and I assisted, and he did a great job. So now I got this candy apple red. Then I got me some nice rims, chrome rims, and then some graphics along the bottom, and the dark tint windows, and some 6x9, probably Pioneer Alpine speakers.
No, they're definitely Pioneer.
Yeah, they probably were Pioneer. I couldn't afford the Alpine. I wanted the Alpine.
Yeah.
I saw them on the shelf, and I was like, I'll take those in the box.
Yeah.
But this thing was kind of pimped out. It was nice. It was definitely East Side, and took that thing off to college, and then at some point I traded in for a 1981 custom deluxe Chevy. And by custom deluxe, I mean the bottom version of custom. Like it had nothing, right? No backseat even. And and I haven't left a truck since then. But wow, we just went way off course.
That's
we?
right.
That's what we do here.
That's what we do here. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking, like, I was actively processing. I want to run this like car bit in, like, I want to run with it, but I shouldn't. And so here we go. What color was the Chevy?
Oh, it was brown. It was just
Yeah,
dull brown. Right?
89.
But it had a 81.
81.
I think it was 81. But it had, for the gas pedal, one of those looked like a barefoot, right? not a bear, but like a 5 toes, right?
Yeah.
And then it had the Hurst shifter on the floor.
Yeah, it did.
I don't think there's anything Hurst in it. It's just a shifter.
Yeah.
Right. And then it had that back window for air conditioning.
Yeah. Did this have the triangle windows in the front that you could clip and
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those should come back.
Yeah.
Because they actually function.
Yes. You know this triangle window bit?
He doesn't.
No. Nope.
Yeah, that's like
right
country.
here. They're right here. You know where your side mirror is. And it had a
the
little
front.
lever.
Yeah.
And you can turn it and it catches the air.
For sure.
Like
Probably doesn't help with gas mileage, but
it's country air conditioning.
it was 100%.
I was in Chicago, so you didn't.
You don't need no air conditioning.
Yeah, you're good.
That's funny.
So I drove, I'm in my smooth ride. We drove to Stillwater, and I, navigated my way to the registrar's office, and I go walking in this little single-story building. Happened to be right, if I recall correctly, right across from the architecture building. Walk into the front door, and I walk up to what looked like the old-school transaction counter, the windows.
Yeah.
Wood paneling in the room, and I said, so I need to enroll. And the lady's like, have you already? I was like, I haven't done anything. And this is where I learned the term, bless your heart. So I didn't know what it meant then, but I do remember her going, oh, bless your heart. Now, without people like Mr. Jansen, at Votech saying, you got this, without people willing to pay us $10 to do a horrible job mowing their yard, and or people like Roy Easley allowing me to pluck weeds from their garden, and then I almost said flowers from the garden. That'd be bad.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong.
Or like this bless your heart lady. She came out from behind the counter. And remember those, do you remember those back in the day when we used things called paper? There were those boxes, wood boxes on the wall that held the different, you need this paper and this paper, this paper.
Yeah,
you
like
pull one of each, right?
Form box.
Yeah, form boxes. Well, she grabbed this one and that one and this one and that one. And what it was application. It was Pell Grant application, which is, it's like how you get to college money. It's free. It's free. There's an air quote thing. It's free. It's free money for us, not for the people. Thank you for Pell Grants. So Pell Grant, Oklahoma tuition aid grant, Stafford loan, Parent Plus loan, and all those things. She helped me fill out all those things. I remember calling back and forth to my mom, getting tax information or salary information so that we could get all this done. This lady, she sat there patiently with me and helped me enroll from NOC to Oklahoma State. So that got me to Oklahoma State, albeit on probation because my grades are still bad. And then the next year we started there and met more friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who like to hang out.
Still hanging out with them to this day. I actually talked to all those boys. I actually talked to 3 of them yesterday when we had that, called Pig. Pig. It's Mitch. Pig. Sean Boy, and Walker. Those are the names. Pig, Sean Boy, and Walker. I talked to all 3 of them just yesterday, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But, that's how you end up getting to this architecture land in college, right? But luckily, the program at Oklahoma State, it seems like all these programs ebb and flow, right? At that time, it was in a good position. I think it's in a good position again now today with its current leadership. But at that time, it was it was in a good position. So I got lucky in that we didn't research and test the market. But 5 years there and got out and moved to Boston.
That's a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What sent you to Boston?
So backing up, I guess in college, if people are trying to do that math, they're like, you got a 30-year-old? I mean, you look younger than Kevin.
Yeah, I get the opposite often.
Yeah. But so I got married in college and in 94, and we my wife was I'm still married. I was trying to figure out the right wording for that. I'm still married. She's still my first wife.
She wasn't your wife. She is your wife. But
Yeah.
back then she was.
Right. When we met, I actually had got kicked out of college at Oklahoma State. This is part of the fun. So if you transfer into college from another college on probation, and you remember I mentioned math. So I took calculus 5 times. That's not on the paperwork here. Calculus is 5 credit hours in college, right? I completed calculus 5 times.
Oh.
Okay, follow me here. F, 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 F. B plus.
Wife comes in.
Wife came in between the 4th F. Also between the 4th F and I got kicked out of college. So my grades outside of all the architecture things were just crap. Can I say crap, Kevin?
Yep.
Okay, they were crap. And I got that letter on my 21st birthday, and I'm like, uh-oh, now what? And kind of a jackhole. Didn't freak me out too much. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be an architect, but I got to go to college. So, you get a short period to figure it out. We partied for my 21st and kind of got up the next day, week, whatever, and started scrambling to figure out what I was going to do next. There's another university about 10 miles outside of Stillwater called Langston. And I was like, I'll go to Langston. And I know I stopped at that school, picked up register information. I knew what to do at this point. I've done it twice now. And picked up that information. But the next day, I got a call from my advisor at Oklahoma State, Nigel, saying, hey, it turns out you don't have to go to another college. You have to sit out a semester, right? And you can get back in. You have to write a letter, apology, I'll do better. And you can get back in. And I was like, oh, relief. So I partied really hard then. So I lived across the street from Eskimo Joe's. I worked at this off-campus bookstore called the Cowboy Book, and they were all next door to each other. And that's just a bad recipe for anybody trying to go to college. I live across the street from the bar. I work right here, which is on the edge of campus. And we had a great, great time. All those 3 guys that I mentioned, one was also kicked out, and the other 2 had temporarily quit. And they're all doing great. They all own their own companies now. But it's crazy what we all go through to get to where we are today.
Yeah, right.
And then while kicked out, working at the off-campus bookstore, I met Melissa. Now, when I met her, she had zero interest in a guy like me. It was 100% eye roll, like this guy, right? I mean, like she still rolls her eyes now, but she's more of a cheerleader eye roll. She says, bless your heart, probably a lot too, right? But, oh my gosh. So we met, and she was this cool girl, and we were all these guys I mentioned, we were all friends with her, and she happened to be already graduated. And this is part of the story that's always weird to tell, but it's the truth. She was graduated, single, and pregnant, right? Life happens. And so she's reorganizing her life, working 2 or 3 jobs, doing everything correctly in prep for this baby, right? And then, so we're all friends. And then she has Jordan, my daughter, a year later, or not a year, months later. That'd be weird if she had a daughter a year later. It's like, you were so pregnant.
Back to like math. The math of that.
Yeah, you were so
pregnant. We run the
Melissa.
calculus
Oh, my
on this.
Yeah.
But so she had Jordan in February of 92. And then some weekends, we'd all be part of the same group hanging out and partying, friends group. And then next thing you know, I don't know what went wrong in my youthful rebel days, but I went from being this long-haired guy. My hair was longer than it is now. I had 3 earrings and blue contacts and, the baggy flannel shirt and the work boots and jeans. It was the grunge days. I went from being that to a guy with a car seat in the same truck, but I had a car seat next to me. I looked over and I was like, how did I get a car seat in my truck? Right. And the next thing you know, I'm walking around with this little tiny, messy-haired, blonde-haired girl going, calling me Justin at the time. Then I went from Justin to Daddy Justin to and then to Dad, right? And that maybe me growing up, without that father figure, without the dad, and having probably that opportunity. I wonder if there was no Jordan, would Melissa and I have stayed together? I don't know. Probably, yes, Melissa, we would have. But maybe not, right? You just don't know. But I believe the fact that there was Jordan there caused me to work harder because I wasn't going to give up as it was perceived, whether my parents did or didn't give up. But that was a perception. So I was like, I probably worked harder for her than I did maybe the marriage, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Marriage is hard.
Yeah.
But we're 27 years into it. We got this figured out now. We're like professionals.
Yeah.
Empty nesters.
Yeah, we are 100% empty nesters.
Yeah.
So kicked out of school, going through that, and then Melissa and I, we had in our apartment on the wall a big map of the United States because when you get out of college, you can go wherever you want, right? And we had identified Phoenix, Arizona, North Carolina, RTP area, or Boston. I don't really know why we ended up with those, but neither of us had traveled much and at all and didn't know the world, let alone the United States. And we had picked out those places. One of our friends graduated in December. We helped him move his stuff to Phoenix at Christmas. And this sounds stupid now. It's like, I don't want to live anywhere there's no snow during Christmas. Yeah. We don't have snow. But I can go to snow now.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. Maybe when we leave this room.
Yeah.
But we took Phoenix off the list, and then we had Boston and North Carolina. That year, North Carolina was like having all these floods, and we're like, okay, that's out. And she had a friend in Boston, and her best friend lived in Boston at the time, so we moved to Boston. And you mentioned steelworker earlier before you started this thing. You referenced some steelworkers or something.
Yeah.
And while I was waiting to get a job in '96. There was no jobs. They said, if you're here, it's more likely to get a job. So we moved there without jobs and lived in, the guest room of a friend's house. And I was working for a steel company, cutting rooftop unit holes in metal buildings. I think there were storage buildings for like the Jello plant, Jello. Yeah. And we weren't tied off or nothing. I had the Sawzall. I was cutting holes, and I did that for month and a half while applying for jobs. And all these steelworkers were like, oh, you're going to be an architect. Let me tell you how the world works, son, right? And, I eventually got the job I wanted in Boston, right in Cambridge, Architectural Resources, Cambridge, ARC, and working for these great people. And my wife had a job down in the financial district at the Copley Building in Boston. 2 different experiences. I was in cool Cambridge, and she was in uptight, white-collar, treat you like a peasant female kind of world. She was miserable. I was loving it. And I would say we're maybe 7 months in over there. And then she says, I can't do this. And that was like a Thursday night. Monday I gave notice, right? Because it's like, let's not waste any minutes of their time or ours. And so I gave notice. And I'm still friends with those people to this day, which is crazy. I spent maybe 6.5 months with them, still friends with some of those people. And so we packed up and moved back to Dallas.
So timestamp us on this. This would have been 97?
97, yeah. That was a quick year. 96 to 97 and a half was a lot of growing up, a lot of changing, a lot of head scratching and struggles. Architects don't make much money, especially right out of school. And then she was making less than I was, and we had a kid. So most of all of her paycheck, no matter where we were, went to daycare. And then we had 2 student loans, which back then I think we were putting everything on forbearance or deferment. We've since paid off my daughter's college, my son's college, my wife's college, not mine. I think I still owe about $28,000. So when people say I can't afford to go to college. I can't do this. I was like, well, that's a I'm going to use your cuss word. That's a damn lie because you can go to college. Now, I understand Pell Grant doesn't cover as much percentage-wise as it used to.
And you're going to have to be smart about how you use that money. You can't,
Yeah. But you can work in college, maybe not so much with architecture. You can save money, and you can get loans. And I have no problem with having these loans because the loans allowed me to be sitting here with guys like you, right? If I don't have those loans, I don't have my name on this cool cup. It's our name, not my name. But without those loans, I don't get to places. And so there's nothing wrong with the loans. There's nothing wrong with the hard work. So
a loan is a bet on yourself.
And it's really cheap money.
Yeah.
Those school loans anyway.
Not as much as they used to be. Yours are probably 2.5 or something.
Yeah, they're probably higher now.
Yeah, they're higher now. It's like in the 7s, 8s. At least law school debt's creeping on up. And short-circuiting payment period. I'm not suggesting what you're saying is incorrect. It's just like short-circuiting payment periods. And so we had all those options coming out too that, eventually we've caught up on that. But new law students hitting the firm, they're like, got to get it paid back in 15.
Oh, really? There's time periods on
yeah,
that's
shortening
impossible.
them up. Yeah, it's making
they
it
do
really
have to
difficult.
change. Something's got to be done about that. But the whole exposure and awareness and access, if I can do this, so can they, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. So I'm on the board of the Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy in Dallas, right? It's a DISD school, 6 through 12. It's in, it's like at 20 and 45. And cool school, amazing young men. And like, I want to get Texo involved. So this is now on, unless you delete it, this is on record that we want you guys to come visit the school. And I'm on this board where we're friends of Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy, BOMLA. And what we do as a board is we just make sure the school, the teachers, the principal have the tools they need to keep this school ahead of the game. So it's a DISD school, it's a public school, but it's like a private school atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so my interest in being part of this school is exposure and awareness. And so like I need to do my part to help these guys be exposed to all the different professions because they definitely have the smarts and the knowledge and the support from the school and the teachers. All they just need to know is they need a target.
How does a kid get enrolled in that if that's not the conventional school they should be going to by location?
They can apply, and there's a recruiting battle. I mean, Obama competes with all the other private schools for students to apply. Once these other private schools hear about a kid who had gone their first or second year or third year even at that school, they try to recruit them away because they're such amazing students.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Is it free or is it?
It's free.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 100% university. I'll use the word university instead of college acceptance. I mean, every one of these kids are getting 100% for whatever year 8 or whatever for the school.
DISD has an interesting educational paradigm because there are some schools that are not very good. And there are some schools like the Obama, Booker T, schools that are like, go look them up, top 5 schools in the nation.
You got. I mean, let's set up a tour. I mean, like even if it's just the 3 of us, you got to come walk. And we haven't been able to do tours for the last couple of years. That's actually hurt some of our fundraising. But we're in the middle of a new executive director search right now. But we for the board, which is fundraising, and but you got to come tour the school and watch these guys introduce themselves to you. Watch these guys make you realize the next person you want on a podcast is one of their seniors, and then you're like, man, Justin sounded like he was from East Side Enid, right? Because these guys are amazing.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, so I'm going to try to tie that back through your story, right? Because I don't know how you ended up on the board, but it didn't just happen. Like you had to have been involved with something, and I know you leave from Boston to come back to Dallas and eventually start your own firm and all that stuff. So tell us the story that weaves us back to, hey, I'm on that board.
Thread. Yeah, that's an interesting thread. So when my son played lacrosse, that might have been 7th grade. He was at school at Richardson Schools, Lake Highlands. No, he didn't go to Lake Highlands. He played for the Lake Highlands lacrosse team. He went to Apollo Junior High, but he played for the Hillcrest scratch that. He didn't play for Hillcrest. He ended up playing for Hillcrest. When he got to high school, he was playing lacrosse already. But by the time he was in high school, he was not playing for the Lake Highlands lacrosse team. He was playing for the Hillcrest high school team. And one of the kids on there was one of the best goalies in this entire region, Kevin Mundy, right? And Evan, my son, was also a goalie. So when they merged, Kevin went to Barack Obama. I didn't know what the school was at the time. But Kevin, keep in mind, rock star, headed for scholarship, could use the scholarship, rock star goalie. My son, good goalie. You know, I'm paying for his college. He doesn't need this guy. No, hindsight, that would have been cool. He got a scholarship.
Yeah, for sure.
That would have been cool. Thanks a lot, Evan. Right. Evan will probably don't cut that part out.
Yeah, no, I'm not cutting anything.
Thanks a lot.
We're
Evan.
one take.
Cost me so much money. And so, but Kevin Mundy could have played 3/4 of the game and let Evan come in for cleanup. But it wasn't in how he was raised. His dad, Kevin Mundy Sr., but it also wasn't what the school was putting in him. He would defer to Evan half the game. Important game or not, he deferred to Evan because he wanted Evan to get his playing time. I remember looking back and said, why does this kid keep doing this? Well, Kevin ended up getting his scholarship and going on, and he did it while at the same time looking out for his teammates. I mean, that to me was my introduction to the school. I was like, this kid's awesome. I didn't know any more about the school, but later, friends of mine, one of the ladies, our board, Sophia Johnson, good friends of ours, asked me to be on the board of this school. I was like, you know what? I know this school. So I've been on the board probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's such a rare thing for kids in high school and in sports in general to be looking out for somebody else and not just trying to shine the spotlight on how talented they are.
Yeah.
That's so rare.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's, as I describe the school to people, I was like, I tell it through that story. I probably tell it better than I just did there, but that's the story of the school. Is the kid, it's deeper than the education. It's the quality of the character that comes from that school.
All right, I'm going to spin us back. How'd you end up becoming an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur, that's a big word.
You don't like that?
Yeah. Well, have you guys tried to type that?
Yeah, that's
entrepreneurial. Like I just like
Spell
I
it.
started. No,
Somebody try it. Try it out, Kevin.
you do it, Kevin.
No. Even definitely for me. You know how many times I get the squiggly from definitely?
He's not even going to try to spell entrepreneurial.
No.
It's the Uriel part is the hard part.
Yeah,
Subpoena.
I could do it.
SUB. So I went to A&M now. Now that I can't spell entrepreneur,
Yeah,
I would say I went to A&M.
Sweet side clip, Justin.
For his phone? Yeah. He got his phone on his hip over there.
Oh man! So we get here and I land in Dallas and I start working at BRW, Brown Reynolds Watford. I worked there for about 5 years, and like I said, somewhere along the line, Tom Reisenbichler and I became friends, and we were the dads shagging the balls at the T-ball when our boys played T-ball together. He was the Reisenbichler of Collins Reisenbichler Architects, which was later acquired in 2002, or maybe in 2000-ish, by Perkins & Will, a Chicago-based firm and big design firm. Perkins & Will's coming to town. We all had the books. They're on the internets. We all had the books too. And we were at a T-ball game one day, and he leans back and he goes, "Know anybody wants a job?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" So other people have to apply. I got in because I knew somebody.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, obviously I had to have a talent, right? Or at least he thought I was a nice guy, good enough to hire. And a couple of us come over from BRW. We were the first 2 hires after the merger of Perkins & Will and CRA. And so CRA was a healthcare firm. I didn't have any interest in doing healthcare. And we were part of this newly built diversified studio. Delivered projects like the Hector Garcia Middle School at 8th and Marsalis, the UTA Chemistry Physics building with the planetarium in there. Yeah, that was a cool project. Those are some of the first projects I did at Perkins & Will. And then stayed at Perkins & Will for 19 years, dozen years doing healthcare, 4 or 5 years doing office, multifamily, and other. And then about 6 years ago, remember the shooting at the Dallas police station that night that everything got lit up down there?
Yep. Yeah.
So that evening, a good friend of mine, Patrick, he and I were sitting at a bar in Uptown cleaning some glasses because we were going to start our own firm. And it was that evening our wife started calling us, "You guys okay? Where you at?" I'm like, "Oh, we're up here." Like, it was a crazy night, right? But we spent about 2 months digging into the details of what it's going to take. And in the end, we were like, you know what? Maybe we're too close of friends to start a firm. Like, maybe two buddies shouldn't start a firm. We might kill each other. And he was a schools guy, K through 12, and I was not going to be a schools guy. I was a healthcare guy wanting to be not known only as a healthcare guy at that time. And so I was like, "You go on without me." So he went on, and then I entertained 2 other times, partnering with 3, 4 other people for 2 different discovery opportunities to start our own firm. Had good conversations with a buddy about doing healthcare development. And when I left, I didn't tell everybody I was leaving to do architecture. We created this black splash page that said ParscaleGroup.com, but it didn't say architecture. So most people thought I was going to go do development in healthcare. And it turns out we were doing architecture. So I guess the question is, I'll ask the own question, but I think where we're headed is, how did we end up with Parscale Group? Yeah. So, you can go to the way back, and I'll do this abbreviated version. It's funny, when you start your deal, you tell the story 80 times a day. And it used to be longer. And I'm trying to abbreviate it as best as I can. At the same time, I want people to know the story because I want them to have our backs. But 19 years at Perkins & Will. Great firm. I never had any problems there. I did what I wanted all day, every day. I had the best mentors, the best partners, the best team. And literally, I just had free reign to go try and be successful. And I did healthcare for a dozen years. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm more interested in the office, mixed use, tower cranes going up all across the city that I was kind of interested in being part of. Mm-hmm. So I went to a couple people that I have a lot of respect for in the industry, a broker and a couple developers and influencers. And I said, "Hey, what if I switch from healthcare to your side? I'm 3 for 3. I could drop their names. You know them." And they said, "Do it. I'll try to help." And next thing you know, we're working on a residential tower right next to our office, and 217 unit thing. Next thing you know, we're working on an office building, and we're competing for other office buildings that they haven't yet started to do that I believe are in the bank for them. And then you start looking around. It's like you see your friends go and start their own firms. I had a friend started a healthcare firm. I had a friend start a construction firm. 2 friends started a construction firm. Another friend started his architecture firm. And they're all like, "Justin, go. Justin, go." And it's scary, right? It's like, I'm scared. This is what I tell everybody. Where I had more Instagrammable fun than any other architect in this industry. But I was bored. How can you be bored and have this much fun? I was being successful. It turns out, hindsight, I feel like I could have been more successful. I could have worked harder. I didn't realize how hard I wasn't working until how hard you realize you're working now every day.
This is my payroll.
Yeah. I don't have payroll yet. We have payroll. We're paying people. But I had more Instagrammable fun than anybody in this industry. And I still do. But I was bored. So there's something wrong. So you have to stop. And here at this point, I'm 48, and I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? So I tell everybody, you get one shot. You get one shot at this whole entire life, right? And I don't want to be that dude on my deathbed or whatever, retired and sitting there saying, "I wish I would have." And so why not? And I looked at my wife. Actually, it started at like 2 weeks. I'd already had conversations with a couple people before I talked to my wife about it. That I do not recommend. Mm-hmm. I recommend you talk to your wife about, "I have an idea," before you talk to your friends and say, "I have an idea." So luckily, she supported it and continues to support it. And so, you had that Lauren Abate on, and she talked about the anxiety and what was that? I wrote it down on my note. She wrote down this imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And you have doubts, like, am I just a guy that people like? or am I a guy that people trust? Right. And I believe if I'm doing anything with you, you better trust me. Right. You're talking about your word and all that. And, that imposter syndrome statement was real. Anxiety is real. And I couldn't go and start an architecture firm or any business, I feel like, on my own. So what do I need to do? Is you recognize your weaknesses and your strengths. And I reached out to the two guys that I felt were best for a partnership, Matt Prigmore and Ryan Roettker, and best in class as project management and thorough and cross the T, dot the I, and best in class in thoughtful design and his pedigree, Ryan, and asked if they were interested. And in a short amount of time, we had, clinked our own glasses and cheers and said, let's do this. And that was, I think the discussion began in June of 21. And then July, August, right? August, they gave notice. I gave notice a couple weeks after them. And then Parscale Group was started September 1, 2021.
Go back to Instagrammable fun, but bored.
Man,
because I'm very interested in that idea.
So this industry, this AEC industry is insanely cool. And I understand there's an in crowd, and then there's a lot of people that are on this outside in our same industry that we don't know. There's other architects that we don't know who they are. And then there's other contractors that we don't know who they are. And they're probably all looking at those of us that are, air quotes again, on the inside. I'm lucky enough to be on the inside, but my friends are not just the brokers or developers or the big GCs, but also my friends are the trade partners. And so, and you want those to be your friends when you get to deliver the work, because you want to do work with your friends. But also the little secret is, and maybe Texas knows this, the guys who can fund the fun are the trade partners, right? Mm-hmm. So I have been invited to all the events. That includes our wives. And when your wives become friends with your industry partners' friends, that's a winning situation, right? And just attending from, like little things like, well, it's not so little anymore, the DPR Hoot and Holler, right? You go.
It's not little.
It's not little.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Oh my goodness!
No, I had a conflict.
1,700 people. It was as packed as I've ever seen it.
I've seen the pictures.
To
not a COVID in the house.
Not a COVID in the house. You probably don't want to get into that conversation here. Somebody's going to get in trouble. I think I saw a mask. I saw 2 masks.
Yeah.
But there's whether co-funded. We contribute to ski trips, hunting trips. Hunting trips are amazing with clients, with their kids. My son got his first deer. Unfortunately, it was a 10-point, his first one.
All downhill.
Yeah. I was like, well, you're done.
Yeah. Hang it up, son.
Yeah. At the Balfour Beatty, father-son deal. And so many people have taken their sons to the Balfour Beatty deal. The industry events, just all the games. Like, I never got to go to a professional anything growing up. Never thought I'd be to a professional anything. I'm at pretty much any concert or any game I went to because we all have the friends that have access.
As a trade partner, it makes it really difficult because the industry's so spoiled that, like, Rangers tickets aren't going to cut it. A round of golf probably won't cut it.
I'm good with golf. Anybody wants to call me, let's go play golf.
You got to be creative.
Well, what is it, though? Okay, so the boredom part is the part I'm most interested in.
Where's the challenge? I think I ran out of challenge. Like, I was in this safe corporate bubble. Mm-hmm. I could have a good year. I don't feel like I ever had what I would consider a great year. At hindsight, I was like, wow, I could have done so much more. But the average year, good year, lesser good year. I don't think I had a bad year, but all those things, you were safe. You're insulated.
Yeah.
And there's boredom for me, having a little bit of a competitive spirit. At the same time, I want to go conquer and do everything I can possibly. I was bored inside. We had fun, but we were bored. I was bored in terms of challenges, I guess. What better challenge or
go stand
how
up,
about,
go stand up
honey, Melissa, I got an idea. How about I have no paycheck for 6 or 8 months? You good with this?
Sign me up.
All
great.
day. right? I just need you to keep working, right? You know, and hey, partner one, partner two, Matt, Ryan, I have an idea. Let's all forego our paychecks. But you can be your own boss. You know, that sounds crazy.
Well, it does and it doesn't. And that gets me to like, what is it about starting your own firm that you guys think we can do this in a way that's, I won't say better because you worked at great firms, right? But we can do this differently that provides challenges, opportunities for our partner. Like what's the value proposition that you feel like is going to provide you with that challenge to make it fun again?
Well, I mentioned the last word I said was crazy. It's crazy, awesome, stupid. I've always been looking for something that checks that box. What's crazy, awesome, stupid? Not like holding my beer stupid, but like jumping in that cold water. This is stupid, right? I think, what was that Lampoon? Like, this is a different kind of stupid, right? But this starting your own thing is crazy, awesome, stupid. And where we are better. I think we are better. So I am everything I was at the previous firm, the big corporate world, without the overhead. I have every bit of the expectations I did here as I did there. What we did then was we were so big. Everything we had to do had to be big, and it had to change the skyline, right? We were constantly trying to change the skyline. If it wasn't big enough to change the skyline, financially it may not have made sense for the bigger firm. Mm-hmm. So what if we take that same exact expectation, the same exact expertise, decades of drive to be the best of the big firms that change the skyline, and bring it to a human scale, right? What if we're down here working where the people are? Eventually, give us a few years, we're going to change the skyline again. But until then, we're working where the people are. Working at that 250,000 square feet, 150,000 square feet. 50,000 is probably too small already. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. In under a year, we're like, well, it's probably 150,000 and up right now. But I think that's what we're doing better. We're not bogged down by the corporate overhead, the rules, the fears. We're able to just go, and we can be responsive. We can still be with our friends. I can't say my partners work any less hard than I do. If anything, they work much harder than I do. I feel guilty every day when I watch how hard they're working. But we're each three doing what we're great at. Mm-hmm. You know, we say we're a partnership by design. I mean, Matt Prigmore is all things perfect documentation, perfect project management. I mean, it's like perfect. Cross every T, dot every I, ask 20 oh my God, here we go. 20 questions from Matt. And I sit there patiently. Like I don't sit well, and I'm not impatient, but I'm definitely not patient. And we go through the 20 questions from Matt. And after 19 and then number 20, I'm like, oh, every one of those were perfect.
Yeah, we needed to know that.
Right. And then you got me on the opposite. I'm like, shoot from the hip, let's go, right? Now, when they're hearing this later, they're going to laugh because now that's become, unfortunately, a joke that Justin's going to shoot from the hip, blah, blah, blah. And then Ryan, I don't know if you know, well, obviously, so Perkins & Will, shout out to Perkins & Will for 19 years with them and Tom and David. And in 2009, I went through their Leadership Institute. 15 people out of the whole 2,000 then company get selected to spend a whole year going through a Leadership Institute. It's not like the leadership program where they're teaching you to be a leadership. It's a kind of an interim thing where they've identified people that could be future leadership for and within the company from across the country, and there were 15 of us. We spent a year together, and through that process, I got to know Ron Stelmarski. So Ron was, a senior designer in the Chicago office, working for the man who represented Perkins & Will. Well, we had talked about this concept. What if you came to Dallas? So a little clap for Ron. Congrats to Ron. He just got fellow last week. So that's fellow with AI. That's big props. So he came down to Chicago from Chicago to Dallas in 2010. So every time I see a little piece of success that he's had, I feel like I had a piece of that, right? And so brought him down, and from that point on, the design quality of Perkins & Will elevated, right? But I was part of the design process then. Well, his right-hand man for the last 10 years was now my partner. Ryan Roettker. So Ryan is, in as far as I'm concerned, a next or the next Ron, but he's going to be his own man.
Yeah.
And our company name might be my last name, but it's his brand. It's his opportunity to build his design brand, and his brand is going to reflect the city, right? And so I think we are able to just take the best of what we had from Perkins and Will or the big firm, and just bring it to a scale. There's not many firms that are at our size, especially our current size, that have the quality and the experience that we have.
Which is a pretty good value proposition.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you want big firm expectations for your mid-market project. You're not going to get it, but you can call us and you'll 100% get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
What's the vision and purpose? Is it the words on that cup right there where you're telling them forego your pay to come leap out on this? You have a burning purpose and vision to lay out to them where they eventually say go, which I'm sure is what y'all stand for.
Yeah.
What is it?
So best if they were to answer that. However, it is crazy to me every single day. So we have, the name Parscale, which is the brand. The company's Parscale Group. We have this icon that's the P dot. And they always laugh because I try to use the icon more than the name Parscale. They're like, no, we've got to get Parscale as the recognizable brand first, and then we can use the P dot. When we were trying to name the company, we tried every acronym, every abbreviation, every word that we'd be sitting there trying to describe why we chose that species of wood. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Right? So now they have to describe, why'd you choose that species of wood? And then they tell the story and like, oh, right? Y'all know who we're talking about.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So we tried all those names. And in the end, in polling our clients and our friends, everybody says it. This is the hard part for me. This is where it sounds kind of cocky. They're like, no, it needs to have your name. It's like, my name? It's got it. Yeah, it's got to have your name because they're my friends. And people, like I said earlier, like to hire and work with their friends, and that's about trust. And why do you trust your friends? Because you know they can deliver, right? So look at this segue. That goes back to this motto, this take risks, explore what-ifs, deliver. That's our company motto. And I come up with that like maybe 5 years ago. And I've had that pinned to my wall above my desk at the other firm. Take risks, explore what-ifs, deliver. Nothing matters if you don't deliver, right?
Yeah.
And we are set up and doing everything as perfectly as we can from day one so that in the end, our delivery is always as close to perfect as we can get. So in order to start your own firm, you have to take risks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And along the way, you have to explore what-ifs. But nothing matters if you don't deliver. And so that kind of played into that. But it ended up with the Parscale dot. And so the dot, everyone's like, what's the dot? It's like the dot's the mic drop. That's all it is. It's just the mic drop.
Spin that back around on me. Look, see.
But man, I love it.
Yeah. Full stop.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Uh-huh. And all of our branding was done by a company out of New York, WRK Partners. So we hired a third-party company to review our industry, to go through all of our naming process, interviewed each of us independently, came back with a list of names that they thought the company should be, and they actually were promoting the one with the dot. And to my partners, that isn't my name. That's their company's name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the name of our company, right?
Yeah, eventually it's going to grow a life of its own and have its own personality, its own relationship in the marketplace. It'll separate it from Justin over time.
Yeah.
It'll be bigger than Justin, and that's exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, and it better be good. We better not take it. We better not take it south.
I got Parscaled today.
Oh no!
So if you say who do you want to be? So why start a firm? What are you guys trying to do? We want to be the go-to firm for a corporate office. 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 400,000. We want to be able to go, I'm calling Parscale, right? And second to that, mixed use, multifamily, and developer-driven healthcare, all those things. Now, there's another firm out there that he's about to retire, but the city is filled with projects that this other firm built. And whether it be good or average architecture, it was because of his relationships, right? Mm-hmm. I'm all about relationships. My job is to leverage those relationships for us to be the go-to guys, and then the stable of rock stars that will continue to hire will be able to deliver this work. But I want people to come to us for office, mixed-use, multifamily. I want us to think us first. The second half of what we want to be is we want to be part of this tricky solution to the development of Southern Dallas, right? Southern Dallas is a really big area. It's like, I'm going to get this right and wrong, but I believe the area of Southern Dallas, which is, mind you, really 1 mile away from downtown Dallas, is bigger than Atlanta, I think, geographically. I could be wrong, but I think it's something like that.
Well, and I suspect you're going to get to the answer to the question that's percolating in my head, which is, why is it underdeveloped? But tell us.
Well, you learn about that, a lot of those things. So I went through Dallas Regional Chamber's Leadership Dallas in 2019. I don't know how I got in. I don't really.
I do.
I mean, I know who.
Favor?
I know who favor. I need a favor. Can you guys please put Parscale and LD?
Parscale guy won't stop calling me.
I had some very tremendous recommendations, right? And thank you again to those 3 people that gave the recommendations and those who urged me. I applied in 2012 and got rejected. You don't get in by being a good sports coach dad, and you get in by being involved in the community and being understood as somebody who cares.
Womp womp, Stewie.
Don't
That's the basketball coach.
Don't diminish.
I did all that, and I applied, and I try to use that as a basis. But you should do all that. You should absolutely be involved in every last thing of your kids until one day they're out of the house and you have time to be involved in the city.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, lucky enough to go through Leadership Dallas in 19, and you learn more about the city in that thing. You learn about the people of the city, the good, the bad, and there's a racial divide right there. Is this physical structure called Highway 30, and maybe I'll get this part wrong too, but check this out. So like you picture 30 or 635 going around. As you go on the southern side of the city, there's no off and on ramps. You know what happens at the on and off ramps? Commerce. It's like, what? Right? And I was like, no way. I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where I was thinking about racial divide. We were everything. That is who I grew up with. And then you don't pay attention to it. And maybe I don't pay attention to it because I happen to be somebody who's not challenged with it. But then you learn about it. And you actually, when I first started hearing it, I was like, no way. Come on. It can't be that. And then you're like, holy crap. It's real. So there's I think, I know my generation and the generation after and generation after, we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all of our opportunity. Some will say responsibility. Maybe it's a responsibility, but it's all of our opportunity to work with who is our friends to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And to me, the fix is just development, and you try to figure out how to include those that have stayed in the neighborhood. Some are going to have to move. Development moves people from affluent neighborhoods too. Development changes. So some people are going to have to move. Some are going to get to stay. And I don't know this answer, but wouldn't it be cool if we could figure out how to include, like the grandma who's lived in her 1,100 square foot house and raised generations of kids? She's going to have to move. But wouldn't it be cool if you could find a way for her to be part of the mailbox money that comes from the financial package, right? And maybe that's too much to ask. I don't know, but that'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, we want to be a piece of this Southern Dallas evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So we office in the Cedars. We got a super cool space between Gillies and the Canvas Hotel, and Jack Matthews Southwest owns the building. It's the old Bill's Records and Tape space. A lot of people know the name from, I don't know if you listen to The Ticket. I haven't listened to it in a while, but The Ticket used to always have Bill's Records and Tape, Bill's Records and Tape, Bill's Records and Tape. That was the commercial, right? Well, this dude used to be up in Richardson. And then I want to say in 13 or 14, he moved down to the Cedars. And we office, and he died like 2 years ago in the space.
Nice.
So I'm pretty sure we hear some music playing every now and then. And
it's because it's haunted by Bill's ghost.
Bill's
of music
Ghost,
past.
yeah.
Get Amy Allen in there. Do you know her? Dead Files. It's my wife's favorite show. She's one of those mediums, walks houses.
No,
We'll call her up.
I don't want her to do that. No, because I don't want her to really be there.
I bet y'all space is super dope.
Oh man, for those who are structural minded, we have a exposed 2x2 waffle slab painted white. We have concrete floors, a little bit echoey in there. Mm-hmm. If anybody got some free stuff, we need some free stuff. We got to build out some walls. 3,500 square feet, and we can fit. Ultimately, we'll fit 20 architects and one person to run the show, admin, office manager type person. And the thought is that we will have 20 architects in 4 years, but unless things go wonky, we're probably there a lot sooner.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
It's
a scary thing.
That's Kev's problem. He can tell you that you don't fill that space for free, and finding new space is a good problem to have.
Yeah. And I think ambitious people with a good vision even undersell what they're capable of. So you're like, 20 in 4 years, that'd be super achievable because of who you are and who you're surrounding yourself with. You'll probably outpunt that.
And that's hard for us to imagine. That's where the anxiety comes from.
Yeah.
Right? You start thinking about, how do I get there? I sent you guys that little Instagram little video thing. Some guy was interviewing another guy, right? And when you think about the anxiety, so I got this little quote, right? It's from this book, right? I'm not trying to fast forward to pick a book, but there's this quote, and it comes from this book. The book's, as a boy. What is it? The boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse, right? Mm-hmm. And shoot, I actually brought one. I was going to give it to you. Dang it! I bought 2 of them with the intent of bringing it. I forgot it.
We'll have to come check your space out and grab it there.
Done.
So they're walking through this forest, right? And the boy says, "I can't see a way through," right? And the horse says, "Can you see your next step?" And the boy's like, "Yes." And the horse says, "Just take that," right? And so that quote alone, like, you can do the meditation things. You can say, "Well, just breathe," all those things. I'll bet I tell myself that quote 10 times a day, because when you start this company, you're trying to think, well, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. Luckily, I have 2 other partners that are doing a third, and they're each doing their version of I got to do this. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think I feel that I probably have. I don't have more, but I feel that I carry more burden than them, because this is my idea, and I'm like bringing them along. At the same time, they're bringing me along.
For sure.
But I'm the one I think carries the anxiety. And I didn't know what anxiety was my whole dang life. Then all of a sudden, man, like it was August this year. I'd left and I was like on a vacation, right? One of my boys from junior high and his wife from California, they met us in Fort Lauderdale. And we got this cool beach place, and I'm over here trying to be transition-y guy, and I couldn't sleep, man. Mm-hmm. I woke up I didn't even sleep. It felt like I slept like 9 hours a whole week, and that wasn't from partying. That was just like I couldn't sleep. And it's like you feel this vibration-y fear going through your elbows, your arm, your shoulder, your neck, your lips, your tongue, all the way from left to right. And I guess like I've never had this feeling, right? And I stepped out onto that balcony, the wind's blowing off the ocean, it's like, it's supposed to be relaxing. No, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, there's no sleep. Mm-hmm. Just overwhelming fear. And you don't know what to do with it if you've never experienced it. You can allow yourself to panic, and it can tear somebody up, Some people get on meds for it. I don't want to be on any kind of meds. But that quote, just take the next step.
That's huge.
That's all you do. Just take the next step. We're going to get there.
It's like sort of back-to-back episodes, but not really. But with Javier, too, just like, what's next? Like, what's the next thing? As one of my takeaways from his episode, and definitely have felt some of those feelings and get overwhelmed. I just feel like people pour marbles on me. Like, how do I catch all these marbles? You can't.
You can't.
You just got to catch one of them and then pick up the next one and pick up the next one and pick up the next one.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just talking about it, I can feel the tightness in my chest, and it's also excitement. So some of this tension, some of this excitement is like, we're going to get there. And you start with the worst thing you can do is picture it, like where you want to be, and because there's no roadmap. There's no roadmap for this. Mm-hmm. But literally other thing, you're driving down the street, whether it be these little retail shops, every sign on every door, somebody's done the same thing. So what I'm doing is not it's not unique. We're just doing you got to be a little bit crazy to do, and then it's not so bad.
Why you're doing it and how you do it could be pretty unique, though.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah. Why? Why are we doing it?
Well,
hopefully you didn't just ask me why are we doing it. I should have a better answer than that.
Well, like people's purpose, your purpose, you haven't once said to make a bunch of money.
No.
You know what I mean? Like there's a
No.
bunch of companies out there and people that's why they start.
Yeah.
So their why
money
isn't
will
rooted
happen.
in something of impact and a purpose beyond themselves.
Yeah. Money will happen. And what it feels good. Every day feels good. I feel we're accomplishing something. We're going to give back to architecture. We're going to give back to the city of Dallas. We're going to be involved with the chamber. We're going to be involved with ULI. We're going to be involved with this industry. We're going to be involved in Southern Dallas. We would like to be some kind of a mentor program in our office to Southern Dallas. We're going to be part of something great, and we're going to change futures of kids at that school. We're going to change futures of anybody who's interested.
Let's come back to that. There's a few touch points. I've been trying to figure out how to like string them all together here, and I haven't done a great job of it. Let's go back to that changing lives, because you told us a story earlier when we had to take a quick break about a kid who was down at Obama and had headed. You know, I want
My man Juan.
I want to hear that. I want that story to be told on the air, because I think it's an important story of like trajectory change and impact.
Yeah. So you go back to when I had my Mr. Dwayne Jansen at Votech, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, you can do this. Without that or those people, I'm not sitting here having this conversation. We're not sitting there discussing why I have my name on this silly cup, right? Through the Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy, BOMLA, I got to know this senior in high school that wanted to be an architect. And so I was introduced to other schools. He considered Oklahoma State. He considered other schools. Well, he ended up getting an opportunity to go to Houston for architecture. Cool. High five. Well, this is pre-COVID and right at the very, very bleeding edge of the COVID. And he gets down to Houston and starts, and then first thing they do is tell him, you're all on lockdown in your dorms, right? So bad for any student to be locked in their dorm as a freshman in college, away from your mom, away from your family and your comfort zone. And then even worse, to try to begin an architecture degree from lockdown. And then probably even worse, being a Hispanic kid with very few friends in that college, right? Now, this dude Juan, he speaks English just fine. Matter of fact, he is the one who translates for his parents' painting company back here at home in Dallas. So his parents have a painting company, hired them to do some work at my house. And Juan actually did some of the work, and it's not as good as parents.
Sorry, Juan. You're a cool kid. But
I walked through that doorway that I saw Juan paint every day. And I was like, yeah, Juan, come on, man. But he wanted to be an architect. Better to be an architect than to be a painter. And what happened was, part blamed on COVID, but the reality was his parents needed him here to translate between the trade partners and the GCs for them. They speak English, but very little. I was able to communicate with them at my house, but the reality was we needed Juan. So the reality for them and their family is they need Juan too. So Juan, having the opportunity to then go to school, couldn't go to school because his parents needed him. So I called to check on him. He was like, well, yeah, talked to my mom and she needs to be back here. I was like, oh my gosh, you need to be in college because you can change that little pyramid of your family generation starting with you. And he's like, he can't. Yeah. So the reality is, you know what? His parents took that leap, came to the States, hardworking, and responsible, have a company, raising great kids. The reality is, he is changing his generation, but it's a different increment. And he is now helping run the company, not going to college. And hopefully, one of his younger siblings then has the opportunity to go to college because he couldn't and because he chose to kind of work versus going to college. One of your previous episodes, I don't remember who it was, but I'm positive it was on this. You were talking about trade schools being of value, and I would like to get anybody that's listening, I want to get every construction firm, every trade partner, every architect, every engineer. I want you all to come visit the school. And then let's collectively show all these young men at Baumla these other professions, right? Back to exposure and awareness. And if we can expose them, then we can be there as mentors, independent mentors. And then when they say, well, how? You say, this is how. But I always stop there. It's like exposure, awareness, bootstraps. I have zero interest in doing anything for anybody, right? But I have 100% interest in pointing you in the right direction, putting my hand on your shoulder saying, no, you can do this, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's my opinion because that's the way it worked for me, but I'm a big fan of people who bootstrap their way through life. And that means you got to work, right? And I 100% believe 100% of these young men are ready to work. They're thirsty, they're hungry, and you just got to say, check this out. And they'll be like, that's a thing? Yeah, that's a thing. Mm-hmm. And you can do that? 100% you can do that. How? Here's how. That's it? That's it. Right? And then from that little conversation, you're changing a generation.
That's right. Our peer group can do that. They've just been officially voluntold. It's familiar faces. So
yeah, for sure.
We'd be honored to do that. If we could be a catalyst for change and show the opportunity within the industry.
I'm telling you and anybody that's listening, walk through that school and watch these. They had this deal, and I think it's not unique for a lot of private schools. It was new to me, but you have this conversation as you walk through. Random student, they will pick a random student. He will somehow they know to get up. I think they know they're next. They will get up from their classroom when they see somebody walk in the halls. They will come out. They'll say hi. They'll shake everybody's hands, introduce themselves better than you or I can introduce ourselves professionally. Tell you what they were doing in the classroom that day. Tell you why they were doing it, how that will impact their lives, what that means. And then they'll ask you if you have any questions. And you won't have any questions because you will be in shock. And I'm telling you, that's every one of those students.
It sounds strikingly familiar to how you grew up on the East Side of Enid.
It's
or not.
Well, I do see. Look,
I thinking your school is probably different, right?
Yeah, I cannot speak to this day as well as those young men. However, I do affiliate my growing up East Side bootstraps with these kids. We'll just say south of 30. Do they have it harder than I did? Most, if not all, absolutely.
Yeah.
But am I more like them than I am from a kid that grew up even on the west side of Richmond? Absolutely.
Yeah. I get that. I get that a lot, actually. I mean, I understand deeply what you're saying.
So when I say dude from East Side Enid, Oklahoma, that's kind of a little shout out. So like when we have a win or I have a success, I mean it's like it's for us. It's for us.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So
that's legacy.
Yeah, one of us.
Let me toss this out here. Are you about to say something, Kevin?
No, well, yes. I want to know that Mr. Jansen, the school teacher, does he know the hand on shoulder moment? Does he know about that?
He does. So what?
And did he remember that he did that?
So yes. Like I had mentioned that, I got my name on that poster board and then I went on to college. I didn't talk to him much through college. Everybody's, infatuated with self, I think, and being a jackhole in college. But I sent him an invite to my graduation, right? And it wasn't evites, right? Now you know who's attending, right? I sent an actual invite. And, we're at Oklahoma State. We're in the Gallagher Iba on the floor. And parents and family is not allowed to come walk down on that floor, right? Everybody's up in the stand, the audience is. Well, I'm sitting there. Oh, check this out. I felt a hand on my shoulder. I can't believe that just happened. He actually came behind me, put his hand on my right shoulder. And I looked back. I'm like, what are you doing? Right? Number one, what are you doing here at my graduation? Number two, what are you doing down here on the floor? And he gave me this pen for graduation. It sucks that I lost it. But he gave me this pen. I remember him giving me this really cool mechanical pen, pencil. And but he came to my graduation. And like holy crap. So that meant something. So what it turns out, I was the only student he ever had in his, he was in his 50s then. I'm 50. I'm 50.
50 is so
oh my God,
old,
he's so
bro.
old.
Yeah.
We're going to say he was in his 70s now. That made me feel better, but he wasn't. But he came to my graduation, right? And who knew that meant? But I was apparently the first student he ever had to go on and get an architecture degree.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then when I got licensed, still a little bit of communication with him. When you get licensed, you get you got to do your seal and I got a physical stamp that I can, with the little ink pad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got my stamp and I got the ink pad and I got some thank you cards. And, the first thing you do is tell people thank you, right? Because none of us got here without somebody else helping. And if you're not telling people thank you, you're a selfish sucker, right? And so I got these little thank you cards. And this was the very, very, very first test. I didn't do a test practice. I blotted it in the little ink pad, did a really careful one on a little note card, made the first one, signed it, wrote him a little thank you card, and mailed it to him. So he got my mom got the second one. So that's how important that is. When people invest or show interest in somebody's future, it's as important as your mom, right? My mom got the second one. Sorry, Mom. But the first one went to Mr. Dwayne Jansen. So later, some years later, I was in town visiting my mom, and I don't remember why, but I know I reached out to him, and I drove to his house, and his wife was so happy I was there, and he goes to his hallway, and hanging on the hallway in a little frame was that thank you card stamp. Like, holy crap. So he was as important to me as I was to him. So, like, I was an accomplishment for him, right? Insane.
Mm-hmm.
And so stayed in touch with him some, but what sucks, like probably 10 years ago, he passed away from cancer. So he never got to see what he did.
Man.
So,
but he did.
He did.
But
100% he did.
Yeah.
He and a whole bunch of other people, right? From, Roy Easley letting me vacuum their floors, to Mom driving me to the other side of town, to Mr. Jansen, to getting kicked out of school, to my wife, right? Without her and her eye rolls and probably being mean to me.
And calculus skills.
Oh, I ended with a B+, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
I think homework, 88. It was so close to being an A. Yeah.
I took calculus twice.
It's okay.
It's like 4 problems. It's like a formula. There's like 4 of them, and it's like, figure this out. And it's 3 pages long, and I'm like 1 page deep. There's still 4 more pages to go. I'm like, I thought I'm here already.
Check this out. Advice to parents. So I learned the reason I did not do well in calculus is because I never learned the basics. And with both my kids, boy, they shed some tears learning the basics. So, like, they bring home homework and they do, like, 3 problems, so whatever, multiplication or whatever. And, okay, did my homework, 3. I was like, well, okay, let's do 3 more. Well, I don't have to. Homework's done. It's like, no, do 3 more. Okay, you did those? Here's 5 more. Here's 10 more. And finally, they're through tears and anger. They're burning through these solutions, knocking it out. Then you do the next level, the next round. Harder. Okay, homework's done. Let's do 3 more. What? Do 3 more. Both my kids have had no problem with calculus or math in college because I made them cry early. I was crying in college because I was like, I'm going to get kicked out. Actually, I didn't know I was going to get kicked out, but I got kicked out. So I wasn't going to have them get kicked out, also because I was paying for their college.
Right, now it's on your dime. double your dime.
Right.
I'm going to ask a couple questions and then we'll wrap up. But what's you've had, all of your experience in the industry dealing with buildings and contractors and all this stuff. As you look back across that, like, what is it that you feel like the contractor industry doesn't know or that they need to know from your seat at the table? Like, man, you guys need to know to stop or ask or do or don't do or.
Oh, I don't think there's something they need to stop. So there's this term. I don't think any of us like it, but I think it's become a part of the design and construction process. It shouldn't be a phase, but it's become a phase called VE.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely hate that statement, that term, those 2 letters in that order. VE. I don't know what EV means, but VE. I know what that
Electric
means.
vehicle?
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
Not yet. Maybe an electric truck one day. A third version. But VE, we don't need to have it be part of our industry. Now, that requires participation and collaboration from both the design side and the construction side. And I think that is something that I do differently. If you're working with me as a GC on a project, probably during SD, I'm talking to you. And if you've been brought on board, number one, I'm going to do everything I can to get a GC selected before a GMP set into early DD, SD. Let's get them on board so they understand all the concepts, all the reasoning, all the theory, all the stuff that you call intent. If the contractor understands the intent, and even when we take a next step further, how soon can we bring the right trade partners on? I understand you can't bring them on too early because, maybe it's 0.5% higher than it needed to be, and suddenly collectively we're over budget. But I believe if we can find a way to negotiate out VE, I use this example. It's like contingencies, right? If you're the GC and you're the trade partner and you're not part of the design process, you don't know what all is or isn't in this set of documents, right? So you're going to have contingency, like 7 layers of contingency. So 7 out of every $10 has some level of contingency on there. And then whenever we get to into some level CDs, we say, well, we need a VE now. Well, that's stupid. If we have VE, means we either designed poorly or you priced poorly or a combination of both. Mm-hmm. So if we can eliminate VE by being more collaborative early on, maybe there's 2 levels of contingency versus 7. Now we've saved 5 levels of contingency for every $10 spent that can be put into the intent of the owner's money, right? It doesn't have to be in savings. It can be put in to make the product better. So I would love to, and it's not, there's design build, there's design assist, and there's design assist light. Mm-hmm. So I'm somewhere in the design assist light because we technically aren't contracted together, but there's absolutely no reason we can't be collaborating together and protecting each other and, number one, the owner. So
our track record of success on design assist, I think, is at 100%. Because we're early, we're involved in SD. We help you guide the glazing details and help you. Like, I get your vision. Here's how you bring it to life. And then here's the details that work, and it won't cost you a fortune. Yeah. And all of a sudden, every trade's doing that, and you package that together. It's early or on time. There isn't many change orders. VE isn't a thing because we're taught you're incentivized to VE, right? If we're all just at CD level and you've designed something, but I'm going to take it like I have 8 other glazers I'm trying to beat. Here's 17 VEs that could bring this number down because that's attractive to my client.
And those 17 VEs don't always get translated to us on the design side. We're like, oh, you guys are, but we have this, what do you call that? What's that sheet they give at the end? It starts with a C, but it's like all exclusions and something.
General conditions?
Assumptions and exclusions or whatever. Like, you can't assume to turn all these glass walls into drywall. That's not how you get on this job.
All right, the square building's going to be a triangle. Yeah. So there's 3
here's
walls.
An idea. Instead of 2 stories, let's make it 1. It's like, what? Right?
Or think of the money we would save. We'll VE a whole story out.
But if you're on early, here's a real thing. If we have 10-foot glass office walls and windows, that'd be great. But you say, you know what? At 9'6", this is a more standard, and you can save X there. Well, let's go to 9'6", and then in our back pocket, worst comes to worst, we can make it 9. But at least we didn't go from you guys saying, well, I know you had 10, and we bid this thing at 8. Now all of a sudden the design, you don't know where this little ribbon of thing carries through, but changing a little thing like that, seemingly little to you, might save a good amount of money, but it could have implications on the design all the way to the exterior.
For sure.
So we don't want to, as soon as construction starts, architects start losing money, right? That's when you guys start making money, we start losing money. So if we're changing things during construction administration, we're spending time/revenue where we shouldn't have to. Mm-hmm. So I want to be collaborative up front, so on the back end, I'm not losing money.
Agreed.
All right, so we've done family sprinkled in throughout, but let's spend a little time talking about wife Melissa, right?
Yep, Melissa
and them kiddos, and you about to be Papa J, or however you're gonna come up with your grandpa name.
So shout out to family. It's great. It's hard when people talk about family. I was like, wow, that's a pretty important deal. I felt a little gut punch when you started, like, I get to talk about them.
Yeah.
So I've said it before, like my wife, married 27 years. We've been together 29. She's been through all of my jackholery, right? And you hear people say that their wife's the rock. I was like, the reality is she's keeping us grounded, right? And she's something amazing. So she keeps me in check, like I said, through all the eye rolls. But Melissa, without her, man, I don't have to do anything. Like, I can't do anything without her. I feel like, she's something special. And then, of course, through her, we have my daughter. So my daughter Jordan, she'll be 30 on the 27th. I don't know when this thing airs, but happy birthday to Jordan. She's married to young dude. It's like almost Kevin's age.
Told you it'd be a theme throughout.
Super young, yeah.
He's doing well. He's over at EY, and they live up in Plano, and they're expecting, and so she's going to have she's due June 30th. So people are like, when's she due? I was like, well, June or July. They're like, you don't know? I was like, well, it's June 30th.
Yeah.
Right? But it's going to be a daughter. I'm going to be a grandpa. So it's kind of crazy to say I want to be a grandpa. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but last night Jordan stopped by to pick up her dogs from my house, and I was able to feel the baby move. And sorry, Ryan, I felt the baby move before her husband. He's going to be mad. She said, don't tell Ryan. It's like, well, now I just told everybody.
Ryan probably doesn't listen.
Yeah, but I'm going to send it to him.
Yeah.
So then my son, this kid, my daughter went to Arkansas to be a nurse, and then she got exposed to like chemistry and said, no, I'm going to be a teacher. So she's a third grade teacher in Garland. And then my son, Evan, went to Oklahoma State. He's also married to a third grade teacher in Garland. But he got married young, and it was like he was going to get married as young as me. And I was like, don't get married that young. And he's like, what age are you? And I was like, never mind.
Right? Stop asking questions,
Yeah.
son.
And so that dude, he got a degree at Oklahoma State, fire engineering safety technology, right? And he is a Dallas firefighter. So firefighter, paramedic, EMT. Cool. No, I won't tell that story. I about told a story, and I was like, I don't think you should be doing that. But
Saving lives.
I did see him driving past me, driving the ambulance one day on my way to work, and I texted him. I was like, hey, are you working today? He's like, I am. I was like, right now? Like, he goes, yeah, I'm driving. I'm like, stop texting. That's the part I shouldn't have said, right? I was like, but he was cruising. And then the other day, he actually drove the ladder truck, like this monster-sized truck. I'm like, how do you know how to do that? Like, I couldn't drive. Could you guys drive a fire truck down Buckner 70 miles an hour?
No, but I do have a particular like affinity for that bro in the back. Like who gets
I don't think he's done that one yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that
You get the big wheel.
The big wheel, and I think you drive reverse direction. So if you you got to turn the other way.
And there's no setting. You can't go into settings and like invert
Auto.
invert the joystick. You can't. He's got to.
So that dude is out there saving lives and putting out fires, I guess. He hadn't really had many big calls for fires yet, which is, I guess, good. And but
so what's he at? 1944.
He's at Station 19, which is also Station 44. So 19, I understand, got blown away from a tornado recently. So he's down by Tennyson Park, and they've just started construction on a new one, I think, for 19. So proud of both of them. So what it is, I raised great kids that I didn't teach them to make money, but apparently what we did is we raised kids who care about people. So I would say I'm very proud of that. And somehow they have this giving, kind hearts. And that had to come from Melissa. I'm a nice guy. However, their greatness had to come from their mom.
That is the dot, right?
That is the dot.
That's the mic drop right there.
That is the mic drop. That's the dot.
We talked about your book. Not your book. Did you write a book? You didn't write a book.
No, my notes are as long
your
as
notes are a book. The boy, the mole, the fox, the horse. So commend that to y'all's reading.
So you guys always have somebody. I'm kind of like Kevin, not a big reader.
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you. You're not big reader.
Kev reads all the
I'm
time.
a readaholic.
Well,
I've become an Audible guy.
Kev's a listenaholic, I think.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. The listening has been a pretty new thing for me over the last few years. There's 2 books that kind of like, if you're thinking about going to this, number one, if you come from a place like myself, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's when I was like, oh, that's a thing. Oh, you can do that? Now, a lot of things in the book I have yet to do, but that was kind of one of the catalyst books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then there's these other 2 cool. I think I got these from Tyler Burns, Essentialism and Effortless. I think I got those from him.
Essentialism sounds like a T. Burns book for sure.
Really cool. You don't ask me to quote anything in particular out of that, but those are the kind that keep you thinking, and you're like, oh, okay, and try to want to do better. All these things there's a billion things you can try to fit into your style, and you can't do them all, but it helps you think for a moment.
Yeah.
And then, the Bible, tough read, right? When do you read the Bible? When do you read the Bible? Not enough. Do you understand it? Not generally. But it kind of helps you keep grounded and realize where you're supposed to be. And I'm still a jackhole. People are like, wait a second, you read the Bible regularly? I was like, I do. Right? Not regularly enough, but I do, right? And then, I talked about that anxiety. Going back to Audible, 21 days of meditation. A lot of these meditation things, weird music or whatever. That was a horrible weird music sound, by the way. I think I just died on the mic. Yeah. But 21 days of meditation. Every Friday I put it's 13 minutes. It's so helpful. And then this one quote is from this book, and something popped up off Instagram, but it's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And this quote was, I can't see a way through. I read this earlier. It's, I can't see a way through, said the boy. Can you see your next step? See the horse. And the boy says, I can. And he says, just take that. And every day, 5 times a day, just take the next step. And it's all going to work out. If it doesn't work out, it's because it wasn't meant to be. It's going to work out. I just scared myself a little bit. So, yeah, that's it. All that. That was a lot.
That's not a lot. I mean, it's a lot, but it's your story, man. And I love hearing it. I love hearing the East Side Enid, like, circle back connection. Because when I read through most of your book that you wrote for us, I saw that and I thought, that's an interesting, like, way to characterize who you are. And I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, that's just like a place. Like, I'm from Beaumont.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, hearing the story.
That's the competitive side.
In the tale. Yeah.
We can, too. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what it is with Baumla. We can, too. You can, too. Mm-hmm. We all can. Little bootstraps.
Yeah. Love it, man.
Thanks for
joining us,
Justin. This is crazy. Yeah, this was fun.
Thanks for hanging out with us, man. I appreciate your time.
I'll keep listening.